Hi everyone, this is Matt. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about your relationship with your supervisor. So I think it is absolutely normal for high achievers to want to leave a long-lasting positive impression on their supervisors. And aren't we all PhD students, ex-PhD students, high achievers? And we do want to have that positive relationship with our supervisors. When I was a PhD student, I definitely wanted to leave a positive impression on my supervisor. When I was a postdoc, I did the same. And then eventually, when I became a supervisor, I could tell that other people, that my students, wanted to do this with me. And over time, I realized what really helps to leave that positive, long-lasting impression on your supervisor. And this is what I want to share with you today. So first of all, we need to understand what it is that your supervisor wants. So it is basically the same for all of them. They just want to secure more money so they can do more research, right? So in order to do that, they need to write successful grants. Grants depend on research data, publications, but also on the trust scientific community have in your supervisor as a leading expert in the field. So what do you need to do? What can you do to leave that long-lasting impression on your supervisor and further your own career at the same time? So your supervisor needs to think that you are on your way every day to create more data, publish more papers, and ultimately all of this is going to help your supervisor write successful grants. So let's dive deeper into this. You need to be well read, you need to stay on top of literature, so that later during the meetings you can refer to current research papers to help evolve ideas for future research. As you read papers, you will come up with ideas for your own experiments, for your own project, right? That's really, really good because it will protect you from any wild experiments your supervisor might suggest, and it will make you look like you're an independent scientist. Whenever there is a problem, and there will be so many problems during your PhD, never go to your supervisor with the problem and expect them to come up with a solution. That is not the right approach. The right approach is to go with a problem and a solution. So always try to think of something, what you would do to solve the problem. It may not be the best solution, your supervisor might immediately come up with a much better solution, but at least if you come there prepared with something in hand, you will look much better and it will look like you haven't just shrugged your shoulders and walked away. And this will impress your supervisor. It certainly impressed me whenever I had a student coming to me with a problem and a solution at the same time. So, as we all know, PhDs are not a smooth ride. So, if you stay positive and you show perseverance during the times when you struggle, during the times when science doesn't work, that actually really helps and it makes your supervisor think that yes, you have what it takes to do research and succeed in this field. And if you succeed, they succeed. So actually staying positive and trying to find solutions, be solution-orientated, really helps and leaves a long-lasting positive impression on your supervisor. I'm sure you are a hard worker, or you can actually make yourself look like you're working even harder by coming to work 5 minutes before your supervisor. So figure out what is their schedule, what time they come. Maybe they come at 8:30, right? Come to work to the lab 5 minutes before them. Just make yourself look busy. Then when your supervisor comes, they will see you there first thing in the morning, already working, already doing something. And it will look really, really good. But the truth might be, you've been there only for 5 minutes, you literally just sat down, opened your laptop, and you're about to have your breakfast. Doesn't matter. What matters is that your supervisor comes to the lab and you're already there. And maybe you've been there for 5 minutes, but maybe you've been there for 3 hours. He or she will never know. So it does look really good when you come just before your supervisor. Another thing that you can do to make yourself look like you work much longer hours and you work much harder is to use scheduled emails. So quite a few of my PhD friends used to do this. So instead of sending data to your supervisor between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., you could send this data at 10 p.m., at midnight, I even had a friend who used to send data to his supervisor at 3 a.m. so that it looked like he was working until 3 a.m. Well, the truth was, he was working, maybe till 5 o'clock, maybe till 6 o'clock. But he would prepare the email and send it as a scheduled email for 3 a.m., right? So it always looked like he worked really, really long hours, and he also worked weekends. Now, your supervisors are very, very busy people. They don't necessarily want to spend too much time with you, but they like to be informed. So that communication is really, really key to make sure they are happy with you. So there are few little things that you can do that will go a long way to make sure that your supervisor feels like they are in charge all the time. CC your supervisor in all of your emails so they always know what you're doing. Create timelines in Google Sheets or in Excel and update them on a daily or bi-daily basis and share them with your supervisor so they know exactly what you're doing. And that also is really helpful because, the longer as an ex-supervisor, I learned this, the longer you are away from the lab, the more detached you become to how long it takes to do certain experiment to obtain certain data. But if you as a PhD student, write a clear timeline and say, it's going to take me 2 days to do this, then 2 days to do that, and so on, your supervisor will know exactly where you are, exactly how much time it takes to get this data, and will never give you any crazy deadlines and expect you to have the data tomorrow or the day after, when the truth is it's going to take you 2 weeks to get the data. And also, if you have a timeline, you keep it updated, they will be able to check every single day exactly where you are, how things are going, and will not be surprised when experiments don't work and you need more time to meet certain objectives. The next really useful thing you can do is you can create a priority table where you have all of your aims and objectives listed in a priority order. Now, always bring this list with you, this table, to all of your meetings because your supervisor will come up with new ideas. And it's quite likely that they will want you to do these experiments straight away and they will forget about everything else you need to do. But you have your list with all of your experiments and you will just ask your supervisor, where would you like to insert this experiment? Because if I prioritize this experiment now, I will have to do something else later, much later. Are we okay with doing other experiments much later? So this priority list will protect you and your time and your actual aims and objectives rather than, give you so much on your plate that you can't handle at once. Finally, add an out of office note to your email signature so that every time you email your supervisor, they will know exactly when you're going to be away. And then they will not be surprised that, oh, you're going away next week for 2 weeks and they expected all of these experiments to be done. In this way, they will always stay on top of your holidays and they will know what they can expect from you. Finally, be a team player. It really looks great when, as a PhD student, you collaborate with other PhD students, especially from other labs. Because if you do an experiment for someone else from a different lab, then you will both end up on a paper and you will drag your supervisor with you. So perhaps even by doing a single experiment for someone else, you could end up on a paper. And that might be really, really useful to you and your supervisor. So it's definitely worth collaborating with other people. But also, even if that is not the case that you're going to publish together with someone, you can always learn techniques from other people, then come back to your lab and teach people in your lab these new techniques. This is really useful and worth spending time on. You can also create templates and checklists and share them with your lab so that everyone does things in exactly the same way. It's streamlined, it's uniform, and it will make your supervisor life much easier. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can increase the trust, build the trust the community have in your supervisor as the leading expert in the field. So obviously research papers will help, and any collaborations you do with other people to get more research papers will also be very useful. However, you can also write review articles. So if you've written a literature review at some point during your PhD, or you had a project student, a master student, that had to write a literature review or a long introduction to their research report, why don't you use this to submit to a research paper as a review article? And this will increase exposure that you, your master student, and your supervisor have. You can present your data at national and international conferences to increase the exposure. If public speaking is a little bit too much for you, then you can try presenting posters. It's much easier and it also increases the exposure. Suggest to your supervisor to apply for grants for small equipment or for conference-related travel expenses. Take part in local science communication events like Pint of Science or Fame Lab. In summary, impress your supervisor by being well-read, full of research ideas, being well-organized and positive. Be solution-orientated, keep them in the loop, CC them in the emails, keep the timelines updated, have a priority list. Reach out to other people, collaborate, and show perseverance. If you do a quarter of the things I've suggested, if you stay positive, you work hard, and you stay dedicated to the project, I'm sure your supervisor will be very happy with you and will open so many doors for you and write great references.